Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show. This is Anycon Media. We are your hosts. My name is Ocean Subiona.
I'm Taylor Vieira.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is finally here. The movie that people have been waiting for literally 14 years almost. Avatar 2, ladies and gentlemen. James Cameron's sequel to the groundbreaking and revolutionary, still to this day, amazing, crazy movie, Avatar. We got it, ladies and gentlemen. It's finally here. Well, Taylor and I watched it. I watched it Friday. Taylor watched it yesterday, but yeah, it's here. We watched it and we got some stuff to talk about. All right,
a lot.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna do this in traditional fashion, right? Spoiler free, and then we'll dive into a score and get into some spoilers. Okay. As far as spoiler free, ladies and gentlemen, here's my first point that I want to make. This movie did not feel like a 3.5 hour long movie. So like I want to give credit where credit is due in that regard, that like when they announced the runtime for this movie, there's a lot of people that are like, whoa.
It is very long.
Yeah. And to be honest, I mean, a 3 hours and 20-minute runtime, like I was like, holy crap. But I was pleasantly surprised about the pace of the movie and how when I got out of it, I was like, damn, that didn't feel like 3.5 hours. I don't know if you feel that way, but that's how I felt.
No, I agree. It was a very long movie, but I was in it the entire time.
Yeah.
Like, fully.
Yeah, in fact, there's a point where, which I'm not going to talk about because it'd be a spoiler, but there's a point where I was like, all right, this is a nice like little section here, and then I was expecting a whole nother act to happen because I was like, I don't think it's been 3 hours yet. Like I didn't look at my watch, but I was like, it doesn't feel like it's been 3 hours yet. And I was like, all right, we're getting ready for a whole nother act. I got you. I'm ready. Like I'm ready to. I had my candy. Like this is my leftover candy. Had my candy. I was ready. I was like, all right, here we go. This is where it starts to, we got to dig in and hold out. But then it was over, and I was like, what? What? Really? Yeah. And then I looked at my watch. I was like, "Holy crap! That was 3.5 hours." So I was genuinely impressed by that.
There's in the beginning, because they do like a tiny bit of recapping.
Yeah.
And like that mixed in with like I guess the beginning of the new movie. To me, it almost kind of blends so well that I felt like it was. I don't actually know what this is like in real life, but if you were to have like your memories like flash before your eyes, kind of thing, where it's like, here's like everything that just happened, and now you're in the moment, and you're like, oh, like we're still here, like.
Yeah, no, I would agree with you. I think that for this movie in particular, I was such a fan of the first one that the story and the imagery and everything is just like imprinted on my brain.
Yeah.
So when I walked into that movie, like I was immediately right back in it, Like I wasn't like, I can't remember what happened.
Like I remembered everything. It's just
no, what you're saying, but it was a smooth transition.
It was like a feeling of like all the emotions and everything from the first movie, and then you're feeling like the after effect, and then you're like, oh, we're about to get started on the second journey,
Yeah, I agree. So as a movie in general, though, Taylor, how did you feel about the execution of the movie?
I was actually surprised with this movie. It was
pleasantly surprised. Or?
Yeah, like I wasn't expecting it to be bad, of course, if you remember from our trailer reactions, but it was even better than I thought it was going to be.
Oh wow, okay, yeah. I don't know that I'd go as far to say that. I did enjoy the movie for sure. There are some issues that I have, and we'll talk about it. But like, none of the issues that I have with it are like movie breaking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not like I feel so strongly about it. Like it's like, oh, this movie's trash. It's just there's little things here and there that I just felt were out of place, or just whatever.
Breaks the immersion.
Yeah, but as far as the movie in general, I enjoyed the movie, had a good time, and the biggest thing for me is that I felt satisfied at the end of the movie, but wanting more.
Yeah,
like I was at the end of the movie, I was like, oh, that was 3.5 hours. Like, damn, I got a lot for that. And then on top of that, I was like, all right, what's next? Like, where do we go from here? Because there's a lot of world development happens in this movie that sets up for Avatar 3, 4,
Right.
and 5, right? Then there's 5 total, is what he
It's
said.
not confirmed.
But that's
Initially,
what he
that was
wants, right?
projected, but he was. I know James Cameron was considering consolidating a
4 and
few,
5.
like a couple movies.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know the exact number, but originally it was supposed to be 5.
Either way, like I'm in it. I'm for it. It was fun. Uh, for those of you guys that haven't watched the movie yet, I highly, highly recommend that you see it. And I highly, highly recommend that you see it on the biggest fucking screen that you can
Yeah.
find.
I will say, and to be fair, I don't remember how it was when the first movie came out, but you only have basically 2 options with this
3D
movie,
and
and it's
standard.
either 3D or standard.
Yeah, which is I'm guessing it's just because they're really trying to push the 3D.
Yeah, I can
on
totally
this.
understand the reasoning for it because they just really want you to get the full effects,
Right.
and it is amazing
Did you watch it
It
in
sh-
3D or did you watch it in standard?
in 3D.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, is it?
I refuse
pretty-
to watch most movies in standard, but it was really good.
Yeah. I'm probably gonna have to go watch it again in
you've
3D. 'cause
yeah,
I-
if you've never seen like and either this or the first one in 3D,
no, I haven't.
you absolutely should because
Yeah.
it 3D nowadays is way
right,
different.
it's way different. Yeah, yeah.
So it's absolutely worth a watch. in
100% recommend watching it, ladies and gentlemen. And don't worry about the 3.5 hours. You're not gonna. Like, I really don't think you're gonna sit there and be like, "Man, this movie's dragging on." Like, you're
3D.
gonna
No,
enjoy
the
it.
pacing is actually really
It's
good.
gonna be it's gonna be fun. So, we're gonna dive into some scores now. So if you guys haven't watched the movie, go check it out. As far as the score goes, Taylor, out of 10, what is your score for Avatar 2?
Avatar for me gets a 9.
Nice, very solid score. For myself, I'm gonna go 8 on this. Uh, there's just a few issues that just rub me a little bit the wrong way, and it's a high 8. Like, I know we're not doing decimals, but if we were, it'd be a high 8,
Very high.
a very high 8. So,
Either way, high scores all around.
yeah, I mean,
Both
and then that's pretty much the reflection of like critic scores and stuff too, right? As far as I've seen,
I think so.
I think Rotten Tomatoes was 80%. I think IMDb is like 7.9 or something like that.
Yeah, I think it's like 8.1 or something.
Yeah. So, everybody is kind of feeling the same way that, it might be a few things here and there that are a little off, but as far as a whole project, it's pretty freaking solid. And I'm happy with it. Like,
Yeah,
for a 14-year sequel, yeah, good job.
it delivers.
Good job. Good job, James Cameron. Good job to your studio. And like, I'll be honest, I'm and this is gonna be kind of a weird thing because we watched some sad movies in the past recently, but I was closer to tears in this movie than I've been in a while.
There's a lot of sad moments.
And it's I think it's specifically for maybe like me and you, or it's a cultural thing for me. So like, I'll talk about it in the spoiler section.
yeah,
But
there's a bunch of things that
there was one particular moment where I was just like, I had watered up eyes and a few tears may have trickled down my cheeks, but I didn't like, cry. But ladies and gentlemen, go check out the movie. All right. It's 100% worth your time. 100% go see it on the biggest screen you can find. See it in 3D, all that jazz. We hope to see you guys back here once you're done so we can finish out the spoilers together. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this is your official.
spoiler alert.
All right, Taylor. I want to get the things that I don't like out of the way real quick, so then we can just kind of talk about what we
'Cause
did like.
There's not that many.
There's
things.
not. So one of the things that I didn't like was, the very beginning, like what you were talking about, the recap and then the like transition into modern day. It was okay. Like, I liked it. It was fine. But then there was like a section right after that, up until like they leave the forest. Like, that section to me felt super fast and super, like there's a lot of implied development on things, and I don't necessarily think it like it's not horrible. I just like, that's the kind of stuff that I like personally. Like, I like to see how you develop as a like guerrilla warfare kind of tribe,
Yeah.
you know? And I just like to see that part of stories. So for me personally, it skipped over pieces of a puzzle that I particularly like. And so it kind of just was like, man, like I'm bummed that I didn't get to see that part of the story. I don't think it hurts the story overall, but just for me, I was bummed that I didn't get to see those
Yeah.
parts.
That's fair. I do think, yeah, like they could take that and stretch it into its
They
own
could,
thing.
but then it would have
But
been way.
that's the
movie
thing,
would have
right?
been way
Is
longer.
like I understand that it was very cool. It was actually like it was pretty brief, but it was like super cool, like amazing.
Yeah,
Because you basically get like a train robbery,
right.
and it's amazing epic shots like right in the beginning. So you're like,
Yeah.
oh shit, this is what you're ready for.
Yeah,
And yeah, they kind of glance over so that they can actually start with the movie.
right.
And I totally understand that, but you gotta like realize that most people have different expectations for this movie.
Yeah,
And so since it is called The Way of Water, they have to get into
To the
the
water
new
part.
story.
it's not a big deal. I'm probably reading into it too much, but in the moment it just rubbed me the wrong way, and I don't know. I just wanted a little bit more explanation, or not explanation. I just wanted to see more. But it's just a
Yeah.
personal thing, so it doesn't really affect it that much. But did you catch the Marine or not the Marine, the Red Dawn reference with the whole Marine thing?
I'm not sure when that was specifically.
I can't remember who he was talking to or why he was talking about it, but he was just Colonel Quadrits was just talking about how like, oh, you can't kill Marine. We just go to hell and regroup.
Yeah.
You know, obviously it's the new Red Dawn, not the old Red Dawn.
Yeah,
Should
yeah.
have clarified that first.
Yeah.
My bad.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. Because yeah, that does absolutely happen in Red Dawn. But it's just a Marines doing
yeah,
Marine thing. Like
yeah.
I hear them say that shit all the time. So like it's normal to me. Yeah.
That makes sense.
But that does
You have
absolutely
family
happen in
members
Red
that are
Dawn.
Marines. Yeah,
Even that movie, the Marines are extra.
a little
I love
extra.
it.
Yeah,
What's the most dangerous weapon in the world? A Marine and his
his
rifle.
Yeah. So what is it that made you drop your score from a 10 to a 9? Like what garnered that 1 point deduction for you?
So my biggest issue, which it actually doesn't end up being that bad, but my biggest thing was the fact that they brought Colonel Quadrich back with his Marines in the very beginning.
As avatars, right?
Yeah.
And they're the big bad.
It's kind of like a similar thing to what happens with that final big bad in Wednesday, where it's like,
Yeah.
you were the complete opposite
Yes.
against this. I know it was not like, this is not him, and it's just like,
No.
it's not within his control, but it's like a really cheap way of bringing them back, even though they're great characters and I love them in the first one. They're great in this too. It's just that the idea that, oh, we had this backup.
Yeah.
Here's your clone.
And there's no way you're telling me that in the first movie, within the confines of the story of the first movie, that they had this thought to do this whole backup
because they were
plan.
like trying to not die.
Yeah, they were
in the
just
end,
trying
like-
to survive, and the whole. Even if you watch the movie again, like if you pay attention during that portion of them trying to, like they're watching how all the Na'vi are congregating at the Tree of Souls,
Right.
and they're like, oh man, there's hundreds of guys coming in a day. We need to strike now, otherwise they're gonna get to a point where we won't be able to win no matter what.
Right.
So
like
then
it's clearly
Yeah.
a what do you call
It's a time sensitive thing. Like
Right.
They had to go.
but
so
in this movie, when they show you the explanation for it, it's like it's the same as Jake Sully when he's like with the scientist.
Yeah.
It's like, you got to make this recording.
thought
It's
that
just
parallel
something
was
we
actually really
do.
funny.
No, it is. There's a
'Cause
lot
they-
of things in this movie
that
that are like
moment, yeah.
clear callbacks to the first movie,
Right.
which is great. It's just
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
it's too weak.
Yeah,
But once you gloss over that,
yeah.
it's a great movie.
If you can swallow the fact that they chose to revive the main bad character from the first movie, to make him the main bad character of this movie, then from there on it's fine because they actually execute it
Right.
really
The
well.
acting is
Yeah.
done so well with
And just the
everybody.
execution of the character and the progression
Yeah.
and how the story unfolds, it's
Everything
done
was
well.
just it was great.
My part of the reason why I dropped my point is partially that as well, because to me, like, I wanted something new,
Right.
new-ish. This is new, sort of, because it's technically not Colonel Quadrich,
yeah.
but
It's
at the same
spoiler.
time, it's not like that new. So I wanted something I wanted a new big, like, bad character.
Right. Like they don't do the same things, but it's
Yeah.
the same characters involved.
Right.
Kind of.
It's still Colonel Quadrich versus Jake Sully. It's just now Colonel Quadrich is blue, just like Jake Sully's blue.
Yeah. But they do a great job playing. Like I totally believe that he was a clone of Colonel,
Yes,
and
that is true.
not the same person.
That is a very good point. That they really did a good job of separating him from Colonel Quadrich.
Because there's a lot of moments where you're like, oh yeah, of course this is him, but then you'll see like just very subtle, like him like questioning things or doing
Yes.
certain things, and he's like, should I do this? Is this what I would do? Like,
Yeah. No, I agree, and I think that that is gonna play kind of right in hand with my next topic that I want to talk about, which is actually a good thing. I really like the whole Spider story arc and
yeah, it works very well.
character. I'm not
Surprisingly.
sure I'm really a fan of Spider himself.
I also
It's kind of a
agree.
little whiny, but
I think it's just because he's the only like human with
yeah.
the Navi.
But
yeah,
I
I
really
agree.
like it because it adds so much depth to a bunch of different storylines. It adds depth to Jake's and his family's storyline because he's kind of like an adopted son
Yeah.
of their family. But at the same time, what's her name? Jake Sully's wife,
Neytiri.
Natiri. She doesn't like him. Like I don't think she likes him at all. Because there's a
That
point.
was
There's a point in
I
the
found
beginning
that
of the
weird,
movie.
though. Yeah, like you're right.
She's like, I found in the beginning of the movie, she talks about how like, oh, he should be with his own people. Let's send him back, and he can't go back to Earth because babies aren't allowed in cryogen,
yeah, they
right?
wouldn't survive.
So it makes sense. But she was very clear that like she didn't want him. Like she was like, hey, send him back. We don't want him. And there's never really any interaction between him and her. And then there's also some scenes like when he finds out, like he knows that Colonel Quadrich is his dad, which,
Of
ladies
course.
and gentlemen, Spider's Colonel Quadrich's son. But then when he sees them download the footage off of Colonel Quadrich's mech suit,
Mhm.
like you can tell that like he's like, oh, he didn't know. He didn't know that Natiri is the one that actually killed his father.
Right. Well, because
and
in the moment he couldn't
yeah.
see it.
And then it comes back at the end of the movie, right? When she's like son for son, and she was holding Spider or like at knife point because Colonel Quadric's avatar was holding their son at knife point, right? Was it their son? Yeah, his son. No, his daughter. It was the daughter. What's her name? Frick. Signori's Weaver. God.
Oh, her character,
The
new
Immaculate
one?
Reception girl.
Kiri.
Yeah, Kiri. Because she was holding her at knife point, right?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
she came and grabbed Spider and was holding him at knife point, cut across his chest, and I 100% believe that she would have killed him. Like I
yeah,
100%
for sure.
believe she would have killed him if he hadn't, or if he
Yeah.
had done anything to Kiri or didn't. I 100% agree. I 100% think she
Absolutely.
would have killed him. So it just adds so much depth because then it adds depth to this character in particular. Because I think that headed forward, I don't think that this character is necessarily going to stay aligned with the bad side.
Yeah.
what I mean?
I was hoping this would come up later because this
Oh.
was gonna be my predictions for the next movie.
We can save it. We can save it.
Yeah,
We can
so-
save it for the end.
Yeah.
But yeah,
But
it
yeah,
adds.
you're right though. Spider's character does add a lot. He's a great supporting character
Yeah.
for everybody else.
It adds a lot of depth to the story. So I liked that. And then I had one more bad thing, but now I can't remember what it is because I was just yeah. But let's get into the stuff that we did like. All right, what is something that you really enjoyed about the movie?
I mean, shit. I guess where do I start?
Just give me something. And we can roll with it.
I guess we'll just start with the fact that I love the new tribe that gets introduced in this movie. This is a little biased, but it's clearly Polynesian inspired.
100%.
For,
I would say
in every single way possible. Honestly,
I'd say it's very heavily Maori or Fijian.
Yeah.
Influenced, probably more Fijian than Maori, but it is a Polynesian, and we're both Polynesian, and I freaking loved it.
It was great.
I loved it
Because
everything
all
was just
the details that are found in this new tribe, the water, everything they do
yes.
is so perfect.
It's so good, and
I
just love all of the finer nuances that they add to the characters that may go unnoticed for the general population, but for people like us that live the
we live on an island like these people do.
But just the fact that, yes, this guy is the chief of the village and he is in charge, but in reality, it's
real
actually
boss is her.
her that's in charge.
Yeah, exactly.
And I love that because that is 100% the way that a lot of Polynesian families and systems work, is that the male.
It is like, it's just commonly known
Yeah.
here. So like even we say it jokingly, but it's like only half jokingly.
Yeah, no.
Where like if you're like hanging out with somebody and you're like, oh, do you want to go do whatever? Like, oh, you gotta ask the boss.
Yeah.
Because usually like,
Yep.
you know.
Because usually the woman is the final say when it comes to most things. And I loved it. I loved the way that they interacted. I loved just their connection to the water and how they talk about, like, you know, you come from the water and you return to the water, and like everything is connected.
I'm just gonna put it out there. This shits on Marvel. Talokan is nothing. This is how you do it.
All right, so I 100% agree. I actually had this very specific conversation with my brother after the movie, and he was making an argument for Talokan, not to be like better than this, but he was just saying that like we really can't compare them. However, there's a few things that I think can be directly compared. One is the connection to the water, right? The Talokanians in Marvel's Wakanda Forever, they live in the water. Like, their connection to the water should be there. Whether or not they're, you know, water people is a different thing. But like, you live in the water.
They're Atlanteans.
Yeah. So this connection to the water, you can feel it. You can feel it emulated from the characters, the way that they talk about things, the like just the way they interact with stuff, right? You can tell that they just they have
everything.
a deep connection to the
their
water.
Jewelry, their weapons, everything, their tattoos, everything is stylized specifically to like in respect of the water and everything that comes with that.
And then the second thing that I personally was really looking forward to seeing how they do it and hoping that it's done really well is the actual people underwater thing, right? We talked about it in the Wakanda Forever video, if you guys want to go check out that review, but I stated how I felt like all of the Talokanians just looked like a bunch of human beings in the deep end of a pool pretending to be underwater and living underwater.
Right. Like it's like taking somebody who is not normally used to being around water and throwing them in water
and saying, "Hey, pretend you live here."
Yeah, exactly.
Which I get that they were trying to go for authenticity, right? But it just looked like they weren't comfortable and didn't know what they're doing. And when you are somebody that's supposedly had lived in the water for hundreds of years, you had to have adapted in some way. Whether may not have been physically, like maybe they didn't grow webbed fingers or whatever yet, but like you should at least be able to know how to swim around in the water.
Which is why I think it is a fair comparison. They both do absolutely have evolutions within themselves genetically to change their biology to fit the ocean from here and from Wakanda Forever. But I don't believe them, and they don't actually really look that much like it there. But here, there's a lot of details that you can clearly see due like show the fact that they are from the water. Their tribe looks very different from the tribe
They,
that
I mean, they
Jake and them
look
come from.
similar in general, but
You
like they
can tell
have
they're Na'vi.
wider forearms as basically fins. They have their tail is basically a fin, and just the way they move, like when you watch them swim, right? When you watch them swim, they glide through the water and they move
Right, because
more
they
like
use
a fish.
they use
than-
their
yeah.
evolution or whatever changes to their advantage, as
The-
you should.
The thing that I think is the most important that backs up this argument is that if you watch the progression of Jake Sully's family in the water, to me, it is a better representation of people adjusting to life in the water than the Talakanians were. Because if you watch them in the beginning, obviously they're like they know how to swim, but they can't hold their breath for very long. And when they're swimming around, they're super slow. They don't look comfortable. But as the movie progresses, they get more and more comfortable in the water. And then in the final, like one of the final scenes where they're trying to swim away from all the robot, like the crab ships
Sub
and whatnot, and the
things, yeah.
subs, like you can tell that they're moving through the water not as well as the green people, but
I forget their
they're way
tribe.
better than what they were at the beginning of the movie.
Absolutely.
So I think it's a really
Which-
important.
Wakanda does none of
Yeah.
that. It looks bad and stays bad the
Yeah.
whole time.
I do agree on that. So I loved this part of the movie, and it just, to me, they just kept adding on pieces to this whole Polynesian representation that, like, and this is where I started to get emotional because, like, I feel like I have a connection to the water. I mean, my name is Ocean, like I feel like I have a connection to the water, and then the way they explain their connection to the Tukuns and their villages and stuff, it just like it really resonated with me, and it felt like I was watching my culture being portrayed on the screen.
Yeah.
And then when they were showing like,
You talking about when he does like the son like connects with the outcast Tukun and it shows like the flashback.
I mean that was emotional for me for sure, but the part that got me the most was when all the Tukuns came back to the village and everybody rushed out into the water to go meet
Oh, okay.
and
So
talk
you
to
meant
their.
on the good.
Yeah,
I
that
thought you
part
meant the
hit
sad
me
one.
so freaking hard because I would give anything to be able to talk to some of my ancestors. And I know they're not technically their ancestors; they're supposed to be like spirit sisters and whatnot.
Yeah, yeah.
But to me, it's like a representation. Like it's like our Amakua kind of thing, you
Yeah.
know. And so, like, I would like it would be amazing. I would love to be able to go and talk to some of my ancestors or talk to a manta ray, which is my Amakua, and like it would, like that thought in my head. I was like, oh my god, that would be amazing. And so to watch them play it out and like just the visual interaction that they all have with everybody swimming around and just
Yeah.
man, it was like it really hit me really hard.
No, yeah, it's amazing. And this
Yeah.
is the stuff that like most people probably won't really care as much about. Like
sure they enjoyed it.
They'll enjoy it.
But there's a layer of depth when you come from this culture, or come
Right.
from this kind of culture. That
And
just,
so like you probably be excited, but you're right. It's something that for us seeing it on screen done in such a like creative way on top of that,
Amazing.
like
It's
it's
amazing.
so beautiful.
it's unbelievably beautiful.
Like especially and it adds because later on when it gets real sad,
Yeah, 'cause
it
then
makes it
when
even
they-
worse.
when the humans use their fancy boats and crabs and
This shit's cool as fuck. I'm not gonna lie.
it is cool.
all the new equipment and ships and subs
Yeah.
and birds and weapons all looks amazing.
It's really cool. And then they
But it's
go
also
after and
really
they
sad.
hunt the Tukun. And that whole sequence was gut wrenching for me.
It is.
It's
but
meant to be
I love it.
gut-wrenching for
Like
everyone.
yeah, it's supposed to be, but it's done so well that like that way whenever it happens,
Yeah.
man, you feel yeah
Yeah.
that was probably my second most emotional moment was seeing all of the Tukun like getting hunted and stuff.
Yeah. It was,
Because it's
that was
just oh
rough.
man, like I love like everything is so done so well that like it's great, but it's like so sad.
It's so sad because the Tukun, they don't fight back.
Right.
Right. That's their. It's like just
They
part of
literally
their.
get hunted, but yeah, they
It's part of their
their
culture is
species,
that
yeah,
they
and their
don't,
culture don't
fight
do
back.
that.
They don't kill, and it's so sad, man. It's just like how these humans, and it's just indicative of Western civilization
course.
coming in and colonizing things and whatnot. And I have very specific thoughts about that, so we won't get into that. But it's very indicative of that, and it just sucks to see it on screen told in a different way, but you definitely understand what they're trying to
Right.
say.
It's clearly inspired.
Yeah, the technology is cool and all, but it's just I don't know. It sucked. But that does lead me to one of the like not bad things, I guess, because they're trying to change it up, but it's just like they had this rock thing, right? In the first movie, they had this rock, unobtainium, that was supposed to be the like new diamonds,
Yeah.
right, of the world, of the universe, and like that was the whole reason they were there. That's how they're making all their money. That's how they're financing the whole operation.
Right.
And then this movie is like, no. That's not the most expensive stuff in the universe. The brain juice from the Cocoon is the most expensive stuff in the world, and that's what's actually.
I mean, that makes
funny.
sense to me, honestly.
No. I just kind of like we should have just stuck with unobtainium there.
I don't know. I kind of like what they do in this movie because it makes sense to me that like you're in an alien world and we're we don't even know like that much about our own world.
Right.
So of course we're just trying to find the most fucking expensive and valuable thing there and exploit the hell out of it.
That is true.
Of course.
I didn't think of it.
And so
that way.
They discovered this particular thing, which I'm just wondering, like,
it's more so like how
did you figure that out?
You
it
saw
makes
this...
sense that now that you know about it, this is what you want,
yeah.
Of course, because in this movie, like I don't know how it's done, but basically the liquid from the Cocoon's brain basically just stops human aging.
Yeah,
which of course that's gonna get exploited.
Oh, dude, if that happened in real life,
this would definitely happen in real life.
100%.
So that doesn't surprise me at all. I actually kind of love that it's like it went from that. It's not even just that too, but so there's a new general now that's been attached to the base here, which the base looks insane,
ridiculous,
and it looked to me. I love that it's like not just new and fancy and stuff, but it like clearly learned from the former mistakes and they adapted and they have new. Different location, different surrounding, like
burned
different
all the vegetation away.
Right, everything was adapted, which makes sense, and I loved it. And then this general that's involved, and she's like, "Look, I was tasked with establishing and colonizing this planet because Earth is dying. Great, because that's what would happen in real life. So it's good to see that represented here in this movie.
Yeah." No, I do agree with you on that one.
It's weird but cool because it's like a mix of military and like private company
corporation
like
stuff, agendas.
Yeah, I guess just farming things from this planet.
Yeah,
which is interesting, but makes sense because
you are right that it does add depth to the overall story within Avatar, right? Not just focused in on Quadrant versus Jake Sully, but just the whole story.
Right,
it does add a lot of depth.
Now you realize that it's not just like
this particular
military
piece
versus
of the puzzle,
this tribe. It's like you can feel the presence of this entire planet.
Yeah,
is being exploited in different ways.
Right,
we're only just now seeing it in this movie. Because they talk about it like, hey, look, like this is what I've been doing. This is my job. I'm here to do this.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm only gonna play nice once. Yeah. And then he's like, all right, fuck you.
This is what I meant by there's a lot of world development, like as far as the overall arc of the story. This is they do a lot of good setup for the future movies, right?
Right. Well, not even just future movies. I think most people probably have forgotten at this point, but there's a video game.
Oh,
right. Be made.
Yeah, that's right.
It's going to be an open world Pandora game.
Yeah. So it's pretty exciting, actually. It's pretty cool. Let's talk about Kirti. let's talk about this particular character.
I gotta say too, like this is real minor, but I swear the whole time I watched this movie, her name was Kitty, but it's the way they're pronouncing that.
Yeah.
It sounds like cat kitty,
Yeah,
but it's Kiri.
Kitty.
It's just
They rolled R.
the rolling of the R.
Kitty.
It's very much sounds like Kitty
Yeah.
in the movie. But yeah, I just want to say that.
So we were kind of like half right in our trailer reaction of like that she obviously doesn't belong the same way that everybody else does.
Yeah, there's a lot of things we
So-
talked about in the trailers that were correct.
Yeah, we actually did pretty well on predictions, but she's not necessarily a different species, but she is this particular character, ladies and gentlemen, is the offspring of what's her name?
Hold on.
Sigourney Weaver's character,
Yeah, let me get her original character.
Doctor something. Jeez, I'm so bad with character names. I don't know what it is, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just so bad.
Dr. Grace Augustine.
Grace, Dr. Grace. So, she's the offspring of Grace. Apparently, when they tried to
Save her.
save Grace
And
and have
transfer
her
her.
pass through the Eye of Aowa and come back and be into the Avatar, but she didn't make it right. She went to be with Aowa. Apparently, they took her avatar and they put her in a Bacta tank, and they just had her suspended, right? And then all of a sudden, it just grew a baby.
Yeah.
And this is that baby. So we don't know who the father is, but we know who the father is. It's obviously Awa. Right. That's the other half of the equation. Whether or not we call it father,
Yeah.
the other half of
In
the
the movie-
equation is that
In the
Awa.
movie, I love that they joke about Norm being the
Yeah,
father.
that was hilarious. It was hilarious. It's so funny too because they're obviously like 13, 14-year-old kids, and that's
Yeah.
exactly how I'd expect them to like.
That's
joke
another thing
around
I wanted
about
to
it.
say is the kids in this movie. I guess if you haven't seen it, would be a surprise, but they're actually the main stars in this movie.
Yeah,
The
it's
parents are really like just kind of like they're have their presence, but they're not really the focus of this movie.
they're the focus of the story. Like the story revolves around Jake Sully, but the kids are what we see and how the story is told. The story is told through the kids.
Right.
Yeah.
And I love that it was like everything that's done is like such a good way of like passing it on to the kids,
Like the next generation.
but still having the parents be like
major
yeah
parts of the
powerful, important characters in the movie. Because most of the time it's like they just shit on the other characters.
Yeah.
Fuck them. Moving on to the next ones. Like,
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah. So this particular character, Kiri, because she is essentially a child of Awa, she has like powers, right? Which
I
I
feel
don't
like it
mind
also
it.
fits the character too, because like
Yeah,
Dr. Augustine from the first movie.
that's all
of
she
course,
was
she
obsessed
was
with.
she was the one who like
She was like
that was her
obsessed with
not just her
trying to-
job, but like she fully believed and was like trying to prove to everybody else what
Yeah.
she knew the connection was to AWOL with everything. So it makes total sense
That,
that
like,
her
AWOL would choose
daughter,
her, yeah.
would be the chosen one essentially.
Yeah, it was. I actually liked it. I don't mind the introduction of like powers to the world or whatever, especially because they're not like ridiculous overpowered. Or
No,
anything.
because it's not even really like
It's just a
powers.
connection.
It's just like an influence. Like
yeah. It's just like she has a deeper connection than everybody else, so she's able to like talk to things and like
and ask for
ask
help.
for help or be like, hey, like
Yeah, it's not like force pushing or
Right.
anything. It could look
It looks like that.
but that's not what it is.
no, it's more so her just being able to connect with whatever it is that's in front of her and be
Right,
like,
because
hey,
every time she does something, she literally connects to it with
Yeah.
her, their tail thing or whatever, her hair
braid,
thing.
yeah.
So yeah, it's done very well. The one issue I had with her character was like in the beginning, I really hated it was like she was like extra teen angst,
Angst, yeah.
a little bit.
She was teenage.
She was the only one.
Yeah.
And I guess it makes sense because she was like the only
She was the
freak
outsider.
or
Yeah.
whatever that they would make fun of her for. But it's like, well, she's really the coolest one.
Yeah.
But yeah, in
I
the
didn't
beginning,
mind.
it's a little extra. It's not like a big deal, but
No. These are all little things.
yeah.
And they just happen to add up. So I liked her though. Obviously, she's going to be a major part of future storylines and whatnot. And I'm actually interested to see where it ends up. And I'm interested to
Yeah.
see how they explain the whole AWA being her.
Yeah, I do. I like I said, we talked about it, I think, in the second trailer, but I love this concept that
Yes.
is in this movie because it's something that potentially is like real. It's
Yeah.
just, in order to prove that would be really hard, but like it's just fascinating to me. And I love
the connection between everything. Is what you-
right.
The
yeah,
AWOL
of all
connection.
living things. Not necessarily AWOL, but because it's just the name that they made for the movie.
No, but I
but
mean the connection.
idea,
The
yeah.
AWOL connection. Yeah.
is just amazing to me.
No, I agree.
And this is another character I wanted to say that is done so well because it is, of course, voiced by Sigourney Weaver again.
Right.
But
But you can't
it-
really tell.
there's like it's the same thing with the Colonel, where it's like more actually better than him in the fact that she sounds like a different character, but she has moments where you're like,
Oh,
that's Sigourney Weaver.
yeah.
And it's like it's the what do you call it, like mannerisms and things that
The
she has.
inflection of the voice, the mannerisms.
Yeah.
You can tell it's her, but then there's
At
other
moments
points where
and-
it's like,
Most of the time, you're like, oh, this is a different person.
yeah,
But then every once in a while, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Like, of course you're her daughter. Or that's you.
yeah. It would make sense though because she's essentially a clone.
Right. Well, yeah, of course. Yeah. I'm just saying the acting that was
No,
done
yeah.
was really good.
100%. I mean, that's Sigourney Weaver, bro.
Yeah. I know.
I liked her. I didn't mind her. All right, let's talk about the final battle. I don't really have any pictures of it. This is probably the best we'll get.
Yeah. It's closest to it.
Basically, the Colonel Quadrit's avatar is using, tactics to draw out Sully. He goes and questions villages, burns shit, and then they go and hunt the Tukuns, and that's eventually what draws them out. Because Jake Sully's kids and the Green People's kids, I'm so bad with names, it's so bad, but they all go out to try and warn Tukuns, and then they get captured by Colonel Quadrich on the ship. And so then, Jake Sully didn't want to fight. He wanted to just try to keep running and get away. But then he was like, all right, this is where we fight. And it's actually a really cool scene because there's a lot of Polynesian references in that scene of, them all sticking out their tongue and
Yeah, they were
doing
getting
all-
hyped up.
Yeah, I was like,
I love it.
am I just we do a haka? We do
Yeah.
a
I was
Let's
like,
go.
oh, that actually would have been pretty sick
Yeah.
if we got.
I
we
wouldn't
got
have
a
minded
fucking
it, bro.
Haka, dude. Yeah,
I was actually kind of expecting something,
yeah.
But I liked it a lot. And then they go out and they ride out to meet them on their freaking dope ass.
And it was
Water
it was
dragons.
so funny too because we joked about this from Wakanda Forever.
Yeah.
With the Wakandans, but in this movie they actually do the.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah,
And
it's
so
amazing.
funny.
But it's funny
like,
that you think of that because the whole time I was
literally the
when I
first time
heard
it
it,
comes up,
I-
I'm like,
like,
wait,
no,
they
yeah.
know.
I wanted to do it, but then I realized that
Yeah,
nobody around
everybody
me
else.
knew what it meant. So I was like, damn it. That sucks.
I was gonna do that too, but I was really real quick. Thank you for everybody that went out to watch this movie because this is the first time this year I think that is not a Marvel movie that was packed when I went to go watch this movie.
That's interesting to say that because I was actually underwhelmed with how many people were at the movie theater for us.
Oh yeah, for me it was.
I mean,
full.
the theater was
We even had people in the bottom.
there's people like the theater was pretty full, but like you remember that one time we went to watch a movie,
Yeah, that was.
And the
super
lines were, like,
random.
all the
That
way
was
to the
crazy
door.
Bad. Yeah,
dude. For this, like it was a Friday night, first night of this movie.
and that was
this
weird too because
major
that
movie.
time we saw it, how busy it was.
Yeah.
There was nothing like new.
Yeah.
it was like relatively new things.
Yeah. So I was expecting like that, but it was like maybe 5 people in each line that
Yeah.
day, which is whatever. But So this final scene, they ride out to meet them on their freaking sick ass sea dragons.
Badass. Yeah.
They're sick. All right,
They're
like
super
this.
cool. They're like barracudas with wings.
Yeah, like I probably would rather have this than a what are the birds
Oh,
called?
the banshees.
Like
I would use both because they're this
Yeah.
can't fly nearly as fast and high as the banshees.
but
They're just for different
sick.
things. They're both cool.
The cool thing is they can just like sit right above the water and just they move with their tail. They're just like
Yeah, they just use it as like a gliding
That thing was sick,
Yeah,
dude.
it's super cool. I
I
love the fact that so when they first joined the tribe and he's like,
yeah.
"Oh, this is a warrior one. Maybe you should start with a smaller one." It's like, no, this is
I
good
got it. I got it.
because they're cool as that.
Yeah, they're sick. So they ride out and they have this big battle, and I loved the way that everything just worked. And it, to me, this is how you do things for a couple different reasons. Water-based combat.
Yep.
This is the
This is
epitome
exactly how you do it.
of water-based combat. Like anybody that's trying to make water-based combat movies in the future, you need to study
Yeah.
this.
There
and
was only
use this.
one particular shot that I could really nitpick, and I can't even quite do that because it has technology that is not real. So there was one shot where Jake is like in the water and the colonel is shooting at him. Bullets don't really work very well underwater. However, this is space guns. So I can't really say like, oh, that's not how that would work. I have no idea.
So it's funny you say that because there's a couple shots where
most of the
bullets
shots
that
it works exactly how you would expect in real
and then
life.
that one
There's-
shot.
That's what I'm saying. There was only one shot where it like went really far into the
Yeah.
water. And I was like, oh, that's a little weird. But like I said, it's got just enough room to like,
be like,
like,
maybe they
it's-
have ridiculous.
they're space
Guns,
guns.
yeah.
So like, of course, they're huge. Sure, possible. But
This-
like you said, all the other shots was like
Yeah,
very realistic. Like
This-
like the bullets, of course, when they hit water, their speed drops insanely
Right.
fast. And for most of the movie, it does exactly that.
yeah,
The way everything moves is so amazing. Like everything feels like it has like an actual effect around it. You know,
Right.
like because of course when you're moving through water, of course, like everything has like wakes or whatever
right.
propelling around it, and so everything actually gets affected, whether that's just like swimming or the subs going around and stuff,
Yeah,
or slapping the plants and everything that's going around. Looks so incredible in this movie.
right.
Like I don't know how technically difficult it was to make this movie and shoot it, but
insane.
just from the like few shots that we've seen of them
like doing
doing
motion
things,
capture. and
that's
stuff.
got to be so hard, bro.
God,
Because it
It's
looks
insane.
so good. Even when there's shots when it's like that in between of the water and the
Right.
outside looks so clean.
it does.
And it's like, wow, I can't believe you managed to do this.
The studio that made this movie has some of the most talented people in special effects out there. Like, I don't know who they are. I don't know what their names are, but whoever it is that did the special effects on this movie,
You've gotta be one of the
are
best
the best
in
in
the
the
world.
game.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think there was a shot in this movie that I would consider bad CGI.
Nope. And that's one thing I wanted to
Everything
say, right? Because
was
everybody was always like, oh, that's the only thing good about Avatar is the graphics. Nah, dude. Graphics is amazing.
Yeah.
But then it's like, well, show me another movie that looks as good as this.
Yeah. There's
You
nothing.
won't.
There's nothing out there that requires this much CGI that looks this freaking good.
Like,
It's
it just
so
looks
good.
so real. Like,
It's
there's so
so
much
good.
detail in it. It's insane.
Yeah.
Even with all the creatures, dude. The final battle, I don't forget his particular name, but the
The
son's
Outcast too.
yeah, his spirit or Tukun, bro, was so good. Like when he starts the battle, was so perfect.
It was amazing.
The entire time, because you're like, he comes in, he's like, oh, I see you fuckers, like
Yeah.
you're the guys that fucking killed my family. And he gets like pissed off, and
Yeah,
he's
he
like
goes down,
destroying the coral and stuff. Like, dude, I feel you.
Yeah.
And then he's like, you know what? Fuck
he's
it.
like, "Fuck it!"
Let's go. And he like jumps out of the water, like, oh my god. And they're all like, oh shit. And they're
It
just
was
like, open
awesome.
fire. And he beats the shit out of them, dude.
Yeah. It's literally a fish out of water, and he wrecks everybody.
Exactly. Like Because in real life, you'd be like, oh, we have the advantage because you're out of water. Nah, dude. He was destroying them even while sitting on the ship.
Yeah.
He baited them to shoot him. And
That was
"Psych!"
the best part.
and uses his fucking head to bounce that shit and destroy
That
the
was
enemies.
amazing.
Oh my god, dude, this Tukun is the guy.
Yeah.
Like he's
him.
the warrior of the Tukuns. And then they
Obviously,
make fun
yeah.
of it because he's the outcast. He's the only killer. But bro, if you were gonna have a Tukun on your side, this is the one
to have.
because he's not just like aggressive and stuff. He's smart as shit.
Oh yeah.
Like everything
Well, that's what
he
they talk
did
about.
was
That the
so
two
intentional.
Coons have like an insane brain with a shit ton of neurons,
which I
and
loved
whatnot.
with.
And they talk about how like they're probably smarter than us.
Dr. Garvin, great
Yeah.
character. It's just a side,
Yeah,
comedic relief.
Like that character,
Jermaine Clement, dude, so funny. He's the guy who's singing Shiny and Moana.
Yeah.
So good. I was like the whole time, like, who is this guy? I can't like. He's so familiar.
yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, oh, now that I'm
He's
looking
the
at the
crab.
cast of this, of course it's
Yeah.
him. Because the whole time, like, why do I feel like
You
like
know
everything
him.
reminds me of Moana? But he's it's like, of course, because you're from Moana.
As far as the final battle goes, though, how did you feel about the way that it played out? Unfortunately, one of Jake Sully's and Natiri's son was a casualty of war.
Yeah.
Incredibly sad.
It was very sad.
I
And
knew it was coming though. Somebody had to
it's
die.
predictable, but it's weird because it's like I know it's gonna happen, but I didn't want it to happen.
It was like the perfect mixture of predictable, but like maybe it's not gonna be him. Like we don't want it to be him, so maybe.
For me, it's like I know somebody has to die here.
Yeah.
And he was the perfect character for it, like sibling,
Yeah.
because he's the least
He's a less
in-depth,
complicated.
yeah,
Yeah.
complex character.
Yeah.
They portray him as the perfect son. He's the great soldier or whatever
Yeah.
son. So it makes sense. Like of course, he's going to be the one to die, even though
Yeah.
he shouldn't be.
But they develop his character just enough that you're attached to him. So when
Right,
he
that
does die, you're like,
you feel really
nah,
sad
it
for him."
freaking sucks.
Right, because he plays the big brother very well
Yeah.
the whole time.
Yeah.
And then right at the end, when you think he's even right before when
I knew
he
he
says
was
and
shot.
he's like, "Hey, who's the big bad warrior now?" And he's like,
Yeah.
"I'm not saying it."
Yeah.
And he saves them. Yeah, that's great, but sad.
It was super sad. And the Tiri's reaction and just the way that she was for the rest of the movie, I was just like, man,
Yeah,
that's like the epitome of a
Yeah,
mother
so-
losing her child.
right before I want to talk about that because that was actually my most emotional moment. Was that for Neytiri after
Yeah.
that? Just real quick back to the Tukun,
Sure.
bro. The fact that he got revenge and vengeance
Vengeance.
with the boat guy and sliced his arm off
Yeah.
for his fin,
Yeah.
so
It
good.
was it was an amazing, like, what is that called? Symmetry?
Yeah.
I guess it was called, or I don't remember
But
yeah.
An eye for an eye, whatever you want to call
Yeah.
it. It was so perfect.
Yeah.
Because he used the harpoon cable to slice up the ship
Yeah.
and then rip the dude's arm off. And like you see it fly off, and you're like, yes, good job.
Satisfaction.
Okay. So
Yeah. All right. So
whenever after the fact of his son dying, to the acting that Zoe Saldana does for Neytiri is so
unbelievable.
good. It's incredible. Like the emotion that she conveys
I'm
as
getting
this
chills
character,
right now thinking about
it's
it.
insane. Because so there's a moment, and it's actually not supposed to be a sad moment. It's actually an action moment. But to me, it was very emotional. It's when it's like the very end when it's nighttime and she's like sneaking in and she's killing
Yeah.
everybody. In that moment, it's even when Spider looks at her.
Yeah, you can.
The emotion that her character conveys is so powerful. I felt like my son died
Yeah.
because that's how she feels. And she's so pissed off.
So
that she's just-
overcome with grief that she is just.
Well, she's just
destroying
enraged.
everyone.
Yeah, and she is violently just killing everybody as she should. But
It also gave us some insane, like, death scenes and like
oh yeah,
that scene where she shoots a guy with an arrow, picks him up with the arrow, and
It was
then
like some
draws
Legolas
the
shit.
bow.
yeah,
Like draws the arrow is still in the dude.
body. and
she just
rips
draws it
through it and shoots through
and shoots
him.
another guy. I was like, that was fucking sick.
Yeah, but it's just everything was just so powerful. Spider looks at her and he's like, "I'm not going near that."
Yeah.
Because that you can just, it's just one of those things. It's like when you see a pissed off mom, just go the other way. But, and then after that, when she kills the dude, like, and of course, knives are always personal, but like, she's just like screaming at him, like stabbing the dude repeatedly, like, holy shit, bro. Like,
I 100% agree that it was unbelievable portrayal of a mother in grief after losing her son.
Yeah.
She just went on a tear. And there was nothing that would have stopped her. Nope. There's nothing.
Guaranteed. That's what I'm saying. You just go the other way.
Like
anything that steps in front of her,
she's gonna destroy.
You're gone.
Like Colonel Quadrich, if they had 1v1, wouldn't have stood a chance.
Even if she dies, she's taking him with him.
And they added another layer of emotion as well when she broke her bow, because she hits a bunch of guys with the bows and it breaks her bow.
Immediately, as soon as she kills everybody, she
she
grabs her bow to like, oh, I'm gonna go keep going. And she sees it's broken, and she's like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah, and it's kind of just a moment of clarity. I think it's a moment of clarity for her that she's like, "Oh my god, I was so enraged that
she was kind of lost in herself."
But at the same time, and then you see it kind of like reignite her flame because she's like, "This was my father's bow that was given to me to protect the people,
this was
lead
passed
the people.
down. Like this is her people's."
And it
chief's bow.
Yeah, so sad.
Yeah,
it was unbelievable. It's Zoe Saldana, right? Is the actress? I don't know how much motion capture and whatnot she did for this particular
I imagine
scene
quite
and
a bit.
Like I don't know. I really don't know how they do the whole Avatar thing, because obviously the face is her, but out of the park, man. Like just the level of emotion that she was able to convey with pretty much no words. Like there's maybe a few words here and there, but it was mostly just action, grunts, sounds.
Screaming,
and it was amazing. It was amazing. And the ambiance of it being nighttime with the fire and the shit going down.
It's like
it was incredible. Yeah. And one of my favorite things was the story arc of the younger son coming to fruition at the end. Like I felt such a huge sense of satisfaction when the son was teaching Jake Sully how to be able to breathe deeper so that they can make it out of the ship.
That added to what I was talking about. It's a great portrayal of passing on.
Yeah.
Like you still have respect for the characters that we already loved, but their children are able to do the same thing.
Yeah.
And still pull off like with their parents, because the daughter does it, Kira does it with the mom,
right?
And then I
can't
get the name of the particular son does it with the dad, like you said, with teaching him like, hey, you need to just relax, slow your breathing, we got this, because he's like, oh, I'm gonna die, I'm not gonna make it, and I was like, please don't fucking pull this stupid shit. I was like, I better like. I guess I shouldn't really have expected it, but I was like, I really hope you don't do this stupid excuse of like a way to kill off Jake. But it doesn't happen, so it was a great moment for the son to have for this.
That was a really satisfying moment for me to see. It was just because I kind of resonated with the son like on a personal level, because like I'm a middle child, so I was kind of like growing up. I had baby brother and sister that took up a lot of attention. Then I had an older sister that was the firstborn. So like, when you're a middle child, it's just like you don't get as much attention. And that
shit, I'm the youngest. I ain't get
you're
shit.
A fucking baby.
I ain't get nothing.
So everything. I resonated with him on a personal level, and so to see that satisfaction, because I've had that satisfaction. I've had the satisfaction of creating a new and improved relationship with my father specifically and with my parents, but so to see him get that satisfaction as well, that like that moment when they get out and Jake Sully grabs him by the head and he's like, I see you, like that was fuck, man. Like I'm getting chills just thinking about this stuff right now.
I just want to say to you, that line, it's so like, even in the first movie, to me it's always powerful seeing on screen, because those words, like, they have so much meaning behind them that even though they're doing it again for this movie, it's like, they're different characters, but you can tell like
Yeah.
it's still the same like
It
connection,
carries
I
the
guess.
same weight.
Right. And it's yeah, like you said, when he's looking at his son, he's like, I see you. Because the whole time in the movie, the son feels like
The father doesn't.
the rejects.
Yeah.
Like he was always fucking up and he can't do anything right. He has like very little friends aside from his siblings.
Yeah.
In the end, he, of course he makes friends
Right.
finally with the chief's son and stuff. That was another moment I really enjoyed when he
took the blame.
took the blame,
Yeah.
which, like I said, I 100% called that fucking scene where
Oh yeah.
they just went out exploring, and that's how they discovered
Yeah.
the big ass monster, which is the Toucan that we learned.
That shark was
But
nuts.
yeah, it was super cool because it gave me like Subnautica vibes, which
Yeah.
is a game that's super good. Scary as fuck. Like when he was running away, and like it was kind of similar to how when Jake was running from the
panther thing.
panther looking
Yeah.
thing, but in the water, and it was
Yeah,
very
it
cool.
was very similar. Yeah.
But the fact that he took the blame and he's like, "Oh, why'd you do that?" And he's like, "I know what it feels like to
To always be the fuck up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
just suck and your dad just hates you and stuff." So I was like, "Oh, it's another great moment of like this character, like
Yeah.
Developing,
Progression and-
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, man. I like talking. This is something that was really important for me, and I knew it was going to play a major role of how I felt about this movie, was being able to talk about it. When I walked out of that theater, I had so many emotions and so many feelings about a whole bunch of things that I couldn't quite like formulate my thoughts and my opinions on the movie.
yeah,
And so just being able to sit here and talk to you and go through these things, like, I appreciate this movie a lot more than I thought I did.
yeah."
coming
This
out
is
of
a
that
great
movie.
movie.
I don't think that my score necessarily changes, but it was a really good movie, and especially for somebody that comes from the culture or one of the cultures that's portrayed in this movie, they really nail it out of the park. And the
Yeah.
final kudos that I got to give, I'm just going to reiterate the fact that everything was the visuals were amazing. Everything underwater to me was cool, like on par with the first time that we see Pandora at night in the first movie.
Oh yeah,
Like that scene, I remember when I first saw that, I was like, holy crap, this is amazing. But like this scene in particular, and then just all of the times that we see everything underwater, like I was just blown away
Yeah.
with the detail, with the how everything looks like it's kind of like it obviously there's fish and stuff, and it looks like what we would expect to see underwater, but if you look closer, everything is different, even down to the coral and the reef itself, everything is different.
Yeah.
And I gotta give kudos to the CG directors and or whatever your guys are, like just 100% amazing, nailed it. You guys are awesome.
couldn't agree more. It's like the level of detail, like I said, with Subnautica. It's a video game, first person underwater survival on an alien planet. Very similar in the sense that like the level of detail is just incredible. Like they
Yeah.
took things that are in real life, but they changed it enough to make it immersive and believable on
Yeah.
this alien moon planet of Pandora. And it looks amazing. All the wildlife, the coral, the seaweed, everything.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
It was incredible. I don't really have a whole lot more to say. I think if we do keep talking, it would just be more about how amazing certain parts of this movie were.
Yeah, which it's
so-
a great movie. Like bottom line,
Yeah. Bottom
I
line,
loved it.
you guys did awesome. Great sequel. Really looking forward to more.
Yep.
So,
Excited.
ladies and gentlemen, if you have not seen this movie yet, please go watch it. It deserves.
This is honestly, even if I don't give it a perfect score, it's like dollar for dollar your best value movie you can watch
right
like,
now for
recently.
sure.
Like
Yeah.
you
go,
feel everything in this movie.
go give this movie the money that it deserves. Let it break the records and whatnot, because it deserves it. It did really well. I enjoyed it. We really want to know what you guys felt about this movie. Did you guys feel the same kind of emotion and relevance that we felt to all of the things that we talked about? We'd really love to hear from you guys in the comments down below. And if you guys had issues with the movie, please let us know what those issues were. Maybe because of all of the emotion that we felt in regards to the things that we are connected to, maybe we missed something. You know, it's very possible that we kind of just glossed over things because we were so intrigued by the story and whatnot. So let us know how you guys felt about this movie. We look forward to seeing you guys in the comments. Please like, subscribe, comment, share with a friend. Check us out on social media. Links are in the description below. And we'll catch you guys in the next episode.
Bye, guys.